Welcome back to another episode of NFL News on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host, Terry. And thank you. If you're subscribed, if you're not, think about clicking that button. Either way, thumbs up. All that help grows the channel, and I thank you for it. So today, just doing a quick little, just discussion. We're third through the way of the season. 6 games down. And so just kind of, not necessarily news headlines, but kind of just talking about where we are right now. Now, one thing that I want to say is that people, hopefully you know this by now, let's not go crazy over what we have right now, whether that's power rankings or standings or who leads the league and this and that, because we have so much football left. And if anything, these first 6 weeks should have shown you that teams can really fall off in a second, because injuries are a real thing, and it happens every year, but I feel like there's just a lot more emphasis on it this year, at least to me, because there's big star players getting hurt, but also I think it's because the NFL itself has gone out of their way to talk about how much safer the game is. Just like they were talking about the helmets and concussions, we got the protocols, we got all this, and boom, that's right when all these guys start having concussions, like bad ones on national televised games. And they're talking about the safety, and that's when guys are going down. So I think it's just like more of a light on it, because we do have some big-time injuries that's kind of thrown teams off. And more so than any year, I think so far we've seen that it's a team game. And as much as people try to talk about next man up and all that, and to an extent that's true, but people only seem to understand innately that, if the quarterback goes down, that changes things. But with everybody else, they act like they're replaceable. It's a lot of teams that you can have a conversation with right now. I bet you they feel like some of their players are not replaceable. And so I never bought into that. Yes, the next person up can take the opportunity and do something. But to sit here and act like if you lose XYZ player, nothing's going to change is just silly, whether that's injury or teams that let people walk in free agency or traded them in the offseason. There's a lot of teams that haven't recovered from that. So far we've seen a lot of team ball, but here's the thing. People can come back. I don't have everybody's injury status on me, but some people will be coming back. Some moves will be made. And so again, where we are right now with 6 games down, it's 5 for some. Let's not overreact to how that's going. All right, so let's just kind of talk about some of the groups. I want to talk about the teams that fell off, the surprise teams, and the contenders. So as far as the fall off, we got a number of teams. And again, for me, I see a lot of discussions. And then I go and look deeper into like what's going on. Like one thing, people will literally look at stats. I hear people, because I was wondering, some of these storylines, whether it's Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Bills. I'm like, okay, what's behind that? What evidence do you have? Because I watch some film. I don't have time to watch every team, but I try to watch every game condensed, which gives you every single play. But I don't have time to watch all 22. So I'm like, okay, what have you seen that I haven't? They haven't seen anything. Most of these people are just talking about stats. They're talking about the Eagles, or no matter what they say about the Eagles, well, they're undefeated. That win is a win. That record is who you are. That's all BS. Because then people get to the playoffs wondering what happened. No, you have to watch the actual team. So there's a lot of conversation about that. And again, I look at who have they played, and one narrative I'll jump ahead. Because this is a good example. The Dallas Cowboys defense. I heard like from week 2, elite. This is elite defense. Elite. Now, are they elite? We'll see. I don't think so. First of all, if you're talking about just amongst the rest of the league, okay, they might end up with better numbers. But do I think they're like an actual elite unit with all 11? No, I don't. And so my thing that was bothering me is I look back at like who they played, how they played, and they're talking about, oh, Michael Parsons is Lawrence Taylor and blah, blah, blah. This defense is shutting everyone down. You look at who they played, I'm like, they have not played one good offensive line. They have not played one like top 10 unit offensive line in all these so-called dominating wins. And so as soon as they play the Eagles, everybody's like, this is going to be a different test and, it's a rivalry. But we know the Eagles got a top 10 offensive line. And guess what magically happened? The Eagles defense didn't dominate. So I just if you went through 6 games and you won in different ways or you faced competent, whatever, then we can have a discussion. Most of the discussion right now, where there's anybody in the league, is usually I'm like, okay, well, look at who they play, because that always matters. And so you're going to sit here and say, let's just say, oh, this receiver is going absolutely nuts. He's the best receiver in the league. He made a huge jump this year. Actually, he played the third corner every single game because they happen to be hurt. Like, no one even cares. They just dismiss it. So you got to look deeper. So the Cowboys is an example of that. But these are the teams that I have either seen enough of or they've had the litmus test for me to feel that, they fell off. Like, this is not going to change rapidly unless they make some crazy moves. Number 1 is the Rams. And again, people might say that's easy to say, but no, you really watch them, and it's not about the losses. Oh, they lost these games. No, how did they lose these games? Matthew Stafford barely has time to do anything. And we talked about the Jalen Ramsey extension. We talked about the Aaron Donald coming back, not retiring. We talked about locking up Cooper Kupp. We talk about the Allen Robinson signing. Like, lots of great things, not knocking it. But they did not reload the offensive line like they should have. And honestly, the offensive line at its best was before Stafford when they went to the Super Bowl with Todd Gurley and around those years. And you had some people go on. Havenstein has stayed. Whitworth's been here for a little while. But they've had like Corbett and some other people they switched out. But looking at last year's Super Bowl group, they did not reload that, starting with Whitworth. I mean, there's other ones too, but Whitworth especially, you didn't reload that correctly. And again, Cooper Kupp can put up crazy. I watched Cooper Kupp get like 12, 13 catches and go, he could do all that. And Stafford could put up numbers. But if you don't have the offensive line and your offense is not staying on the field, getting time of possession, then it's not going to matter. And so that's what you've seen with the Rams, because you say, well, they got Bobby Wagner, they got Aaron Donald, they got Jalen Ramsey, they brought back, I forgot the safety's name, but okay, and this is a championship defense. You're like, they should be able to do something. And to an extent they do, but it all catches up to you when your offense is going 3 and out or turning the ball over that frequently. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, people talk about Cam Akers like he's the problem. It could be, Derrick Henry back there. If the offensive line is letting in free runners on pass or run, it's not much you can do. Like, there is no getting over the offensive line. And I know people might say the Bengals or whatever, but there's a difference between what the Bengals were doing, especially with Joe Burrow holding on to the ball, which he still does, than what the Rams have been doing so far. The Rams have just, it's not been, well, obviously it's talent, but it's also miscommunication. And miscommunication will add quick pressure. And whenever there's quick pressure, run or pass, it's not going to be good. So again, unless there's a drastic change, I do think they fell off, because not only do you have Stafford getting sacked, but he's getting pressured. And when he's getting pressured, he's got to make quick decisions. When he's got to make quick decisions, he wants to go to Kupp. And if that's all he's going to do is go to Kupp, if he never has time in the pocket to get comfortable in, a rhythm with Allen Robinson or any other receivers, even if they bring back OBJ or even if Van Jefferson comes back, it won't matter without that offensive line. And that's one of the worst offensive lines that I've watched. And Havenstein is a run blocker by trade. Like he's pretty medium in pass blocking. But, once you get down and teams are teeing off, Havenstein's not going to be that great of a right tackle. So I just see them as kind of falling off. The Tampa Bay Bucks. And this one might be going out on a limb a little bit, but I think what I'm starting to think, and I have no idea if this is true or not, it's just my thought process. I think that this wasn't like Todd Bowles getting a job and then building a staff. This was an unexpected move. So Todd Bowles had no contingency plan for his defense. And so I'm sure more than likely he said, I'll still run the defense and we'll let Brady and Leftwich kind of run the offense. So now they have no pushback, no one to bounce off of. Even though Arians is there, it's not the same. And then Todd Bowles is trying to run the defense while still trying to run the team. Now, me personally, I don't think you can do both. Play calling is one thing. If you want to play call for the offense and be the head coach, okay. If you want to play call for the defense and be the head coach, even better, because play calling the defense is not as, complex. But if you're trying to run the defense, and again, I don't know, but it seems to me like that's what's happening because the team is just not on the same page. Because there's some injuries here and there, but the defense, by and large, has all the talent they've been had. And they are just not getting it done. And again, I haven't watched all the film, but that to me says miscommunication, especially for a unit that's been together and won a Super Bowl. That tells me there's some miscommunication. There's some not coaching going on during the week. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say the whole Brady thing is distracting the team. Not going to say that. But I do think Bowles is trying to grapple a whole lot. And even if he said, hey, you are the defensive coordinator, you run it by yourself, I don't know if he's comfortable with whoever that is because he didn't pick them. You know what I mean? He didn't have them ready. Who's to say he has somebody ready in house to do that? So I think he's trying to grapple with a lot. And, I love Shaq Mason. I think he's a good offensive. I haven't watched the film, but I would venture to say he can be really good. We know Wirfs is good. Donovan Smith is back. And so I think that, they might get healthy with the O-line, but I think their problems is deeper than the O-line. Of course, some people say, oh, it's just the O-line. That's why. I think it's more than that. I do think Tom Brady is distracted on some level. And I think that the rest of the team is just not getting coached structurally like they should be because Bowles might be stretched a little thin. That's my guess. And if that's the case, I don't see that getting better, even with the roster improvements. And then the Green Bay Packers, I'm not sure, and they have so much talent on defense. Again, when I see that, especially a unit that's not brand new, I mean, you got some rookies, but this unit's been together. When you see a unit like that with so much talent, healthy, and not playing well, I have to lean towards coaching. And I don't know what's going on with the Packers. We know offensively we could point to the receivers. It's a time in offense. Like, I don't know why people talk like Aaron Rodgers is supposed to throw these people into wide open. But if they don't have the talent to get separation, if they don't have the IQ to be in the right spot, it ain't a whole lot he can do. And he's had O-line troubles too. Now, is Bakhtiari ever going to be healthy? I don't know. They could get healthy on the O-line and be a lot better there. They definitely could switch up their ratio, run more. They could do some things. But defensively, that's where I've been way more concerned because they have their pieces. They just have not been showing up. So those are some teams that I feel like have fallen off so far that probably will stay falling off. Okay, surprise teams. Jets and who was it? The Falcons. Now, the Falcons aren't like winning crazy, But look, if you bet, you know the Falcons been covering, and they've been taking teams to the brink. And this is a team without their top receiver, with a young coach, like at least in head coaching years, and Mariota, who people wrote off. Like, they just overall, like, talent-wise on their roster, coaching-wise, no one gave them a chance. I didn't give them a chance. Like, you thought it was set up for them to tank. And they are really going at people. And you look at the defensive numbers again, 6 games. They're not great. Their defense is not great. But the offense has been doing enough to balance with the defense and keep them competitive. And it's been really shocking. It's been really shocking. And I haven't got a chance to watch them up close nationally to, really dive into it. But just seeing some of the games in condensed form, I mean, the offense is getting first downs. That's what it comes down to. It's the opposite of the Rams. When you don't put your defense, especially a bad defense, out there all game, you can have a chance to win. You got to put up points. You got to sustain drives. And credit to Arthur Smith. That's what they've been doing. And the Jets, Robert Saleh told you it would be different. And look, Zach Wilson still a dangerous as far as like a risky quarterback. And sometimes he puts them in bad spots. But overall, obviously, the defense, that's where a lot of the draft picks went. That's where Robert Saleh's expertise is. They've been a lot more solid. And then offensively, again, despite Zach Wilson, they've been able to make plays with a unit that people really didn't give a lot of credit to, especially with their O-line issues. That's what's really impressive. You talk about a lot of teams with O-line issues falling apart. This team has really been able to plug in those holes and keep going. Again, haven't watched the film, but credit to whoever's in there. The Jets are not just playing tough like the Falcons. The Jets are actually looking like they could play for real. And then the contenders. For me, it's the Bills and the Chiefs. It's the Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills, not only with a lot of depleted secondary, showed that they could still play good defense. They've done it a couple different ways in these 6 games because the Bills have a crazy schedule. So they've done it on the road. They've done it at home. They come back. They blew people out. Like this is what you see with the Patriots and the Bucks and other teams that go on to win the Super Bowl is, can you do it different ways? And again, some people have the schedule to show that. Bills is one of them. They've been able to play competition and do it different ways. So you know that they're equipped. As long as Josh Allen is there, he's been willing now. Whether he's going to run and pick up the first down and sustain drives, or he's got the arm talent to, whether it's bad weather or not, he's going to be able to keep them in the game. And defense, if they stay healthy, it looks like some of these young corners are coming on. Obviously, they won't have Micah Hyde, but they're showing that they're a legit unit. So I think so far what I've seen, I could see them matching up with anybody. And then the Chiefs is very similar. Defense, not the same. They hope to get healthier going forward. They might make a move. Who knows? But the offense is so potent. Patrick Mahomes drives this train. And he can be so dangerous to where to the point where they're not out of a game. Now, I think the Bills over the Chiefs, not just because they beat them, but because because Pat Mahomes can be a little more dangerous and risky with his passing, especially without, his 2 favorite targets together anymore. So now he's just got Kelsey. But he's also shown that he can spread it around the field. And some games they've shown they can run the ball, but they got to get more consistent at that. But I think that offense, again, keeps that defense off the field and at least allows them to stay ahead. And if not, they can always shoot it out. So I think that travels to anywhere they want to play. And that's really it for my contenders. Now, people are going to say the Cowboys, that's not really a discussion to me. That's not really a discussion to me. I already told you about the defense and Well, again, I think they'll end up grading out top 10, but this whole elite talk was so premature, it's crazy. Let's see if they can do it against real units. And then we'll see what Dak does when he comes back, because CD Lamb and those guys have not been much. The offense hasn't been much in general. They're scoring points. So, I mean, if they want to ball control, that's fine. But if the defense isn't picking it up against competition, they're not going to win those games. Giants, like we don't need to talk about. We don't need to talk about that. I know some Giants fans trying to talk like they true blue contenders. No, they're not. They're not. They're playing people tough, just like the Falcons and Jets. And they're coming out on the right side of those games and doing good things, but not contenders. And then the Eagles, same thing I said. The Eagles have not really beat anybody yet. And a lot of people they beat, it wasn't no like blowouts. Like a lot of these games, you look at the Lions, you look at the Jaguars, it's very possible those teams end up being some of the worst in the league. And they play really, really close games against them. Not saying they don't have firepower, not saying they don't have all that, but the Eagles have one of the easiest schedules in the league. And so, yes, they can rack up wins, but contenders, as far as when we get to the playoffs and it's the cream of the crop, we'll see, because they haven't been truly tested yet. Now, they'll have some matchups, I think, where we can see what they got, but until we get to the playoffs, I don't know that we're going to be able to see what they're really made of yet. A lot of talent, not saying they can't do it, but to me right now, Bills and Chiefs are heads and shoulders above everybody as far as contenders. So that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.